So, in the last bit of your framework, you talked about Wairua.
Yes.
Could you define Wairua and explain why is it the last bit in your framework?
Yeah. So, personally, I love Wairua. Wairua is defined as two things. One, it's defined as the word spirit, and it's often mentioned in lots of Māori frameworks. But I don't think that those other frameworks, with love, do justice to explaining the beauty and the depth that Wairua has. So let's divide the word Wairua up in two different sections. The first part is Wai, which represents water, that's what it translates as. And the second word is Rua, or the Māori word for two. So when you combine Wairua together, what you're saying is the two different waters from both the physical space and the spiritual space that exist side by side, but are divided by a very thin veil between both spaces. And sometimes our Māori, Pacific, and in fact, other people as well, now I think about it, find it difficult to define Wairua. But for me, Wairua is the element that runs between all those elements of Te Ao Marama. And I'll give you an example. Sometimes Wairua can be thought of as the thing that's helped flow you from Te Kore into Te Kore Kore. Sometimes we can also call it a wave of change. And, for me, I'll use myself as an own example. Weight loss has often been something that I've struggled with over the years. I see a wave of change or an opportunity to take it. So it might be through medication, a different form of exercise to help me work on a different part of me. And sometimes I do resist it. Even me as a therapist, I'm just thinking, that's not the right moment for me. That's not the right time. And so I'm kind of going against what Wairua is wanting, which is to be able to shift me from one space to another. And yet there is also other times where I'm feeling low, for example, because I'm human, and I see an opportunity to grow. Someone might ring me, for example, and say, "Hi, I was thinking about you," or just reaching out to say hello. And I see that as a moment of Wairua where another person has been able to perhaps sense or think about you, in that other space, has reached out and said hi. Another way of thinking about Wairua is it's a cousin of Wa, or time and space. So, how do we, it's like, like you and I are great examples of Wairua, Sometimes we'll be working on something and then Sione will have this wave of inspiration. And I might have had a similar wave, but not in the same way that Sione has. And that wave of inspiration, I just kind of see how his Te Ao Marama and my Te Ao Marama kind of come together, and then we create, new exciting things. So those are some examples of Wairua. Often people just say, Wairua is karakia, sit down, I'm going to pray on you right now, right? But actually, it's so much more than that, If I think about it within a Western context, Wairua is things like, are you giving people respect? Mana, are you upholding people's dignity? Tapu, are you treating people with the sacredness that they rightfully deserve? Because their tapu has been violated by previous people. You might be the very first human being, or maybe one or two human beings, that's treating them like they are sacred individuals. That their life spark, who they are, is to be upheld and reserved, not something to be snuffed out. So Wairua for me is complex. It's not always easily defined, and literature is clear about this. It's not always easily defined, but yet it is incredibly powerful when actively applied. And like I said, is part of all those elements as a wave of change to help transition from one space to another.